My brothers and sisters, today we celebrate the feast of the chair of Peter. This feast came about, I understand, because of the early church. In the early church, there was also a day where the dead, the deceased, were remembered in a pagan holiday, and the Feast of Peter emerged to recognize Peter's death. Nobody knows when that happened, but it was to give honor to Peter as the leader of the church. And so we gather here today, centuries later, calling to mind the example of Peter, who was very human but very dedicated and a servant leader. Our feast day here today is not about a piece of furniture or a stone upon which the foundation of Peter's authority was built. When Jesus said to Peter, "You are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church," there was no cornerstone, nor did Peter have a chair other than the seat by the tiller of his fishing boat. Jesus once said, "The Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." Jesus was freeing himself to be everywhere, and often enough a stranger in our midst. If Peter, like Jesus, had a throne, it was the cross. And Peter, tradition tells us, was crucified upside down, preaching to an upside-down church at times that had been entrusted to him. He himself needed mercy as someone who himself failed and rehabilitated himself to lead a church that welcomes failures. Pope Francis has affirmed the humility of his own in that role by living in a guest house and carrying his own briefcase to the office. But today, my friends, I believe we're celebrating the church's stability that has made its mission and its teaching a guiding light in a very fluid and changing world history. My friends, when the church lives up to its ideals, there is reason to celebrate, because when we live up to our ideals, we are the living embodiment of God's image and likeness on the earth, and a sign to all of the mystery of divinity bestowed upon humanity. It helps us to realize what our ultimate destiny is, to live in God and rejoice in being among God's own people.